Shalom and welcome. Welcome to Endtime Reflections. If you're tuning in for the first time, my name is Symmanayah, and these are the words I'm compelled to present before an awakening set-apart nation. To those who believe they are drawn by the Almighty Creator, the Almighty Father, to Yahusha Mashiach, as it is written, and I'm referencing John 6:44, my brothers and sisters. You know, we read the scriptures, we talk about the scriptures, we teach, we listen, we talk, we listen, we act on many different fronts. And I say to you, O Yashar'al, when it comes to the details and processes, all too often, we tend to disregard the details put forth, the actions that are needed. My brothers and sisters, there's no doubt that end times are here. Things aren't getting any better. Soon, and very soon, there will be movement. And with movement comes the need to have a sense of direction. I am compelled to present in this 45th installment of Endtime Reflections the subject of navigation rules. Navigation rules. I will present the case why this is important, and why there is the need to be able to discern and be obedient to Abba Yahuah in the name of Yahusha for such a time as we are witnessing. My brothers and sisters, these are the final days. In the midst of growing uncertainties due to COVID-19, civil unrest, economic instability, climate change and global warming, much is unfolding, proving that we are in these last days. Whether set apart or not, the desire to know how to live in these growing extreme humbling conditions are becoming stronger and stronger each day, knowing what to do, trying to find and discover what to do. But before I continue, let me say this. The views expressed in these podcasts do not necessarily reflect the views of the owners, the managers, the shareholders of this media platform. With that said, let's get into it. Navigation rules. Navigation, the process or activity of accurately determining one's position in planning and following a specific route. Rules. One definition of rules is one of a set of explicit and understood regulations or principles governing conduct within a particular activity or sphere. My brother, my sister, it would be wise to understand that before you can remove leavening from your resident, one must be able to identify what leavening is versus unleavening. Now you might say, what does that have to do with navigation rules? I say to you, each podcast that I present, I often follow a cycle, or at the very least attach the podcast to one of the feast days, which I believe if we can discern their purposes, we will see that they are very important during these last days. And this I consider akin to the feast of unleavened bread. Thus, I'm saying you must be able to identify leavening versus unleavened in order to remove it. Now you say, well, what does that have to do with navigation rules? What it has to do with navigation rules is in order to move from one place to the next successfully, we must be able to identify various things. Who, what, where, how, when. There are things that must be defined and identified. There are people that must be identified. So it holds true for us. In the previous segment, my brothers and sisters, I spoke of maps and blueprints. But let's get into the rules. But before we get into some navigation rules and possibilities, consider these. Isaiah 11:12, I read it often. And so I would just say this is the verse that speaks of being gathered from the four corners of the earth. Isaiah 11:12. But I will read Jeremiah 23:2-3. I do not read that one often, but it is also too akin to the final Exodus. It says, therefore thus said Yahuah, the Almighty One of Yashar'al, against the shepherds who feed my people, you have scattered my flock, driven them away, and have not tended to them. See, I am punishing you for the evil of your deeds, declares Yahuah. Therefore I shall gather the remnant of my flock out of all the lands where I have driven them, and shall bring them back to their fold, and they shall bear an increase. A gathering is coming, O Yashar'al. It requires movement. It requires adhering to navigation rules. Why is that important for us to begin to think about the navigation rules? Because there will be some who will be led astray. Are we not aware of Matthew 24:4-5, where Yahusha himself is quoted as saying, "Take heed that no one leads you astray, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am the Messiah, and they shall lead many astray." My brothers and sisters, I presented scriptures regarding movement, and the notice that some will be led astray. Or should I say a warning? Let's consider what happens during movement. It would be unwise to not discuss or to ignore discussing the processes and details regarding movement, regarding navigation rules. Least we find disruptors among us, making it hard for us to achieve the task that we are ordered to do. My brothers and sisters, consider this. Who? When deciding who will move, it is also important to be mindful of capacity. How many can fit in your car, truck, bus, on the train or the plane? What methods would our movement entail? What leaders? Who makes the decisions? What structure? What organization? In other words, how would we be organized? And at the word of whom? Who makes the rules? Who will enforce the rules? What? Resources and supplies are important, as well as how they will be gathered and used, possibly in some cases rationed, as we move from one point to the next. When? The matter of timing, for there will be those who move too quickly, and there will be those who are too slow to respond. Where? Where are we headed? When do we stop and rest? Destinations are important. As movement comes, it would be wise to know, where are we headed? When will we stop? When will we reach that ultimate place? So when, as well as where. How? Identifying the details required to bring things together makes for a smoother transition moment by moment, as well as day by day. My brothers and sisters, we're so stiff-necked, but the Almighty Father has promised discipline, and we will witness His promise come to be fulfilled. We will witness what it takes to yield to His chosen leaders and to those whom He speaks through as we work towards perfecting what is ordered by Him. Yashar'al, Yashar'al. Most would agree that we have entered into end times, but when it comes to identifying the details, we tend to avoid such discussions. One of the reasons I believe details and discussions are avoided because it brings out the true nature of an individual as well as our leaders. It makes it hard to really identify who are the chosen leaders that demonstrate the love of Yahusha Mashiach. Who are the chosen leaders that can make the tough decisions? Who are the chosen leaders that will demonstrate the wisdom of Shalum or Solomon and know how to make the hard and tough decisions, knowing when to embrace those that will ride and walk or move with us versus those who will be exiled and put away or left behind? Yes, many do not want to discuss these tough decisions, but these decisions, these situations and circumstances will come before us, O Yashar'al. Do you want to discern and discover where your leader, pastor, moray, teacher, elder, bishop, deacon, do you want to know where they stand regarding navigation rules? If they're saying they're going to leave you behind or they don't have room for you, shouldn't you be looking to forge relationships with those whom you believe you will ride with, or whom will ride with you, or walk with you, or journey with you, until such time as more and more come together? Vetting is always important, and I speak of it like a broken record to those who understand what a record is. I repeat it as a warning that sounds over and over. Yashar'al, Yashar'al. Begin to forge relationships, ask questions, discuss with one another. Discover those who truly have your best interest as it is directed by the Almighty Father. Best interest in worshiping and obeying Him. You see, many don't want to discuss it because there's some tough decisions. Who is aware of the life in Matthew chapter 10, verse 34 through 36? Let me read it. Matthew chapter 10, verse 34 through 36. Do not think that I have come to bring peace on earth. I did not come to bring peace but a sword. For I have come to bring division, a man against his father, a daughter against a mother, a daughter-in-law against a mother-in-law, and a man's enemy are those of his own household. Tough decisions will come. Division will come. There is a division that makes for the perfecting of a set-apart nation, and there is the division that is unfruitful and wicked. We must discern the difference. We must recognize and move and navigate knowing the difference between the two. Matthew 19, 29 and 30 says, Matthew chapter 19, verse 29 and 30 says, and everyone who has left houses or brothers or sisters or father or mother or wife or children or land for my sake, for my name's sake, shall receive 100-fold and shall inherit everlasting life. But many who are first shall be last, and the last shall be first. Consider this, my brothers and sisters. That's tough decisions. To leave a mother, a brother, a sister, a child, for the sake of Yahusha. These are tough decisions. For many that will leave their house and leave land, there are those around us that will talk about us. You mean you left your mother, your father, your son, your daughter, your aunt, your grandmother? You mean you left the pastor, the moray, the teacher, the leader? You mean you left that person you used to hang around with? Tough decisions will come. And by the moving and stirring, by the orders of the Almighty Father, we will discover having the strength to endure, having the strength and fortitude to discern and obey, not knowing the full outcome of our decisions, but knowing that we are following Him. Yashar'al, Yashar'al. Let us not get overly eager and excited. For as end times come, there will be times people will want to run beyond the point they are to move to. In other words, like He might say, move to this city for the moment until I tell you to move further. But there are those that will run when chaos breaks out, as civil unrest and uncertainty ramp up. There are those who just want to move, saying, I got to get away. I got to get there, not knowing where there is, or even if they knew where, they say, I got to get there, not knowing that it requires discipline and details to successfully move as guided by the Almighty Father. A good example, my brothers and sisters, is when Yashar'al was so confident in all that Yahuah had done for them that they thought they could choose when to go in the midst of their enemies. Let me give you a good example in Numbers 14th chapter. The 14th chapter of Numbers, verse 39 through 45. Come with me, O set apart brother, sister, and listen to these words. And when Moshe spoke these words to all the children of Yashar'al, the people mourned greatly. And they rose up early in the morning and went up to the top of the mountain, saying, See, we have indeed sinned. But we shall go up to the place which Yahuah had spoken of. But Moshe said, Why do you now transgress the mouth of Yahuah, since it does not prosper? Do not go up, lest you be smitten by your enemies. For Yahuah is not in your midst. Because of the Amalekites and Canaanites are there before you, and you shall fall by the sword, because you have turned away from Yahuah. Yahuah is not with you. But they presumed to go up to the mountaintop. But neither the ark of the covenant of Yahuah nor Moshe left the camp. So the Amalekites and Canaanites who dwelt in the mountain came down and struck them and beat them down, even to Hormah. This is an example where Yashar'al became overconfident because of the things that Yahuah had done for them in the past. They thought that they can decide when to go. They thought that they had good intentions. My brothers and sisters, the living presence of the Almighty Father will prove to be among us. There are no doubts in my mind that our emotions, our mental health, our spiritual well-being, and more will be challenged. But out of the discipline that is promised, we will rise to the occasion. We will learn that during extreme humbling times, we will discover how to make the right decisions and when to discern what is ordered, not suggested, ordered by Abba Yahuah in Yahusha's name. Navigation rules are real. There must be a place, at the very least, when we discover individuals who are among us will be chosen to contribute towards leadership as we navigate, and there will be those among us who will try to sabotage or disrupt the movement that is taking place. There are those who will want to be in our midst with no intentions of worshiping and obeying the Almighty Father, and there must be decisions made. Navigation rules, they will be enforced. We will witness all obstacles removed, and or at times we will experience coming away from obstacles. This includes people, places, and things, familiar and unfamiliar. Yashar'al, O set-apart family, while many of our leaders avoid discussing the details and processes regarding massive movement, it will not stop the need to do so. It will not stop what is prophesied. It will not stop the actions that will cause movement. I cannot stress enough how the time is now to recognize the need to discuss navigation rules regarding all that is necessary for coming together. From people to things, from vehicles to capacity, from resources to supplies, to destination and so much more that I've mentioned, and some things that I did not mention as of yet. Be encouraged, my brothers and sisters. This plan belongs to the Almighty Father Yahuah. We will witness things fulfilled in ways and means of which will cut through all the fighting. Behold, the hand of Yahuah is rising among us. A set-apart nation is awakening, consisting of both Hebrews and Gentiles who seek to do the will of the Almighty Father Yahuah, who are drawn by him to Yahusha Mashiach. My brother, my sister, my family, there is so much work to be done. I cannot stress it enough. What say you? Where do you stand on these matters? Do you believe that there are navigation rules? Do you know what they are? In some cases, they will need to be adjusted and mended. In some cases, they will hold true and stand firm. My prayers are with you that each of us are able to discern and respond with correctness to the living orders rising before us. Behold, our redemption is coming, O Yashar'al. Until next time, I invite you to stay tuned and remember, there are navigation rules. There is much more. There is so much work to be done. Never forget what it takes and what it will take to bring us together in unity as the Almighty Father fulfill his promises to his children. On that note, I bid you, my brother, my sister, much shalom.